Welcome to another episode of the Metal Roundup. Today, we're going to talk briefly, very briefly, about notable new releases outside of the world of Sleep Token, because they do exist and they do matter. However, the bulk of this chat will be focused on the fact that we have not yet, the three of us, talked about Sleep Token's album, even in Arcadia. So today, we're going to kind of deep dive into what we think of it a week on from that occasion. So before we get to that, there's been some interesting new releases since that album that are worth mentioning. I mean, President, we could talk about. Also, Vianova, we could talk about. Maybe a couple other things as well. But perhaps we start with President because that's sort of Sleep Token adjacent. People were wondering if they're related because it's the secret, anonymous, masked band that's going to play Download Festival with no songs out. They finally released a song today. I know the three of us have heard it. I've seen Drew's reaction. Metal Reviews just went live, so I haven't seen your take on it. So perhaps if you start, what was your thoughts on the song itself of President?
Are you asking me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, first off, my camera's working right now. So fingers crossed. Well, we can touch on the last episode, because I have some thoughts that I'd love to talk about. But with President, yeah, dude. So I'm curious to know what you guys think too, because I went into this with such mild expectations because the hype around the single and this anonymous band, I'm just like, yeah, people are going to hype it up like crazy and it's just going to be like a regular rock song or something. I didn't think anything creative or experimental from it. And then I left realizing, wow, this is actually way more creative, experimental, and just different. Like, although it's feels very Sleep Token-y, the worship. And yeah, you didn't catch the whole worship. And also
I did, but I didn't want to call it out because it just seemed too obvious a thing to call out. I was like, hang on, let's let them do their thing. Let's see if there's a reason for the worship part. I mean, the song's called what, In the Name of the Father, which is the start of and
then that was another thing I mentioned is like religious trauma, maybe, which is kind of Sleep Token-y. But then I went on talking about the marketing. I'm like, the marketing is so Sleep Token, and they're borrowing a lot of cues for what was working for them. And you discovered them through Download Festival, and a lot of people are going to be discovering them through Download Festival this year. Like, there's just so many cues that I'm like, this is not Sleep Token, but damn, they're taking a lot of things that were working for them. I
believe I've heard this, so this might not be true, but I think there is a connection through a management person who is advising, has helped Sleep Token become what they were, and also I think has a hand in President. But I think that's about where it ends. I mean, I saw on your video, Drew, you were looking through the deep dive of could this be Sleep Token? Because if you search on Spotify for President, Sleep Token comes up. Is that an intentional? I think that is as simple as when people were wondering, is this related to Sleep Token? People have been searching on Spotify for President Sleep Token enough times that the learned behavior of the search now is, if you're looking for President, maybe you mean Sleep Token.
Yep.
I don't think it's in the back end they've been connecting things.
And guess what? That's what they want. That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to nail in the same marketing, and it's working. The fact that it's almost 200,000 views already for a debut single. Yes, the marketing is crazy behind this.
Yeah. I don't know how that actually works on Spotify with, I was kind of just throwing shit out there because it's fun to speculate. But I did kind of say that. I was like, I actually don't know how the Spotify setup works. How does it actually decide what gets shown up? But it was quite interesting.
It's trying to learn from your own behavior as well as others. So for example, if I enter the word the, I don't get the band the, I get the Metal Roundup, because it's you probably want this, right? Because you searched for that a few times before.
Sure.
So there's going to be a little bit of that, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Who knows? I mean, I guess we'll probably never know unless something comes out about it. But what did you actually think of the song then, Burp? So you seem pretty high on it.
Yeah, no, I walked away actually being quite impressed with the song. Structurally, I thought it was impressive too, because usually with these big new bands or rock artists, I feel it's going to be typical song structure, and to me structure is really important. I felt like they had enough deviations from that. What was it, the pre-chorus being that spoken word part before we got into the aggressive chorus. I don't even know if that was the chorus kind of thing. I have to listen to the song again. It's actually quite interesting. But then there was also the tones that they were using, and the vocal effects were all just kind of surprisingly unique. So I walked away with that song realizing, damn, this is actually a banger. I'm locked in to President. I thought this was a solid debut.
I agree in part. I I absolutely agree. It's great that it was not the expected song structure. Loved that. I liked the sonic surprises. That's great. I don't love the vocal effects that they've gone for in the verses, especially. I think like first verse, I think it's kind of okay. By the second verse, I'm like, I would love to have a little less of this. Because there are amazing vocal moments. I know that this person can really sing, and I just feel like it's being honed a little bit. But the choruses were great. The scream vocals I thought were fucking fire. I thought they were really, really good. But then like some of the breakdown metalcore moments weren't that different. I liked that they happened. There was a satisfying payoff there, but it wasn't like I mean, we can get onto it in a bit, but like Vianova's sonic breakdowny moments are so much more interesting and yet also satisfying than that. So like I think I give it a solid. I think like a high-ish solid for that. Decent.
Yeah, mine was 8.2. I liked it. Like even like the breakdown, like I was talking about, like I was still surprised by the breakdown because like I thought we were going to get pitch shifted guitars. It seemed like that was the way that we were going, but it didn't do that. I'm like, instead it was like this galloping rhythm. I'm like, yeah, just keep the energy going. Like to me, I don't know. I really like the song actually.
I've heard it a few times since, and I think it grows a little bit as well. It is a very decent start. Drew, what do you think of the song?
Yeah, like I'm probably in the middle of you guys a little bit. There is obviously really unique parts about it for sure. Like there is like the vocal like effects that they're using. I'm kind of with you, Steve. I think there is something a little bit off about it. It's like too processed where it actually sounds like it's run through some kind of like pitch shifting that's like just really off. It's like this squeaky sound almost.
It's just a bit weak. Yeah, there's something a bit.
It's like too robotic where it's like, okay, well, there's actually just very little human element left in this. Sometimes it can work. It just as an introduction to a band, it was a little bit odd, but I guess it's still kind of, it leads to some more intrigue, I guess. So I think we'll unlock a lot more about this song when the next couple songs come out. They'll probably make more sense when we get more context. And at the moment, it's like, what the fuck is going on? Also, who knows? Like, I'm sure with, the design of building this band was to get as much attention as they're getting right now. But I'm sure like even when they get it, like, and as much as they're getting, it's still like, oh, like we could have only dreamed for this kind of attention right now. So I'm sure they're even like, holy fucking shit, like this is insane. Like I was looking at, when I checked it out, it was like 150,000 views in 8 hours for a first single ever. And that's just what's showing on YouTube as well. It's probably like 200,000. It's mental.
The marketing push is crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah. So I think like the way I kind of described it at the end of my video was that the main takeaway I had from the song as a whole thing was like the overall package. The marketing was the biggest part for me. I thought the song itself was pretty cool. It had its fun moments. It didn't stray too far from like what we've heard a million times over in metalcore. Like there's obviously certain moments that are quite cool. But the packaging of it was the really interesting part for me. That was like the main takeaway. The thing that we could really like dissect is that it's packaged in this like really cool box, and then what's actually in the box is kind of stuff that we've heard a lot of times before, but it was like more telling of the kind of era that we're potentially going into, where it's like so much more being drilled into bands. Okay, Sleep Token are here. I know it's Sleep Token are kind of an enigma, but at the same time, there's a blueprint there to follow.
And even if it's not just like the anonymous mask thing, I think the packaging is also partly just the tone and the visuals of it. It's its own thing. If there hasn't been a band that's been like, let's make ourselves a sort of presidential religious iconography sort of combination. That is a new thing, and anything that's different, I'm all for.
Have you guys seen the show I Think You Should Leave on Netflix?
No, I don't think so.
Oh my god, it's like a skit show, but one of the skits, the dude's wearing a mask, and I made that comparison in my video. And like, it's the goofiest looking thing, and so when I see the mask, I can't take it seriously because I know this stupid TV show so well. So it takes away from that. And also another thing, like, have they mentioned who the members are, or is this still an anonymous thing, just so we don't accidentally slip it out?
No, it's publicly anonymous, so I'm not chatting about that openly. And like, what there was, I mean. No, I don't want to start a feud.
Everyone seems to know who this person is. Like, I don't know if it's like, I guess people are just speculating based on like the facial features and the voice. Like people are like, that is literally this person. So I mean, it's kind of out there already. Like my video is absolutely flooded with their name, so it's not that hard to find. But there's nothing you can do about that really. It's just,
here's what I think is odd. I'm not going to name any particular platforms, but I think it is odd if you were to, for example, vehemently defend and not talk about the identities of the folks in Sleep Token, but then make a video being like, oh yeah, this anonymous band, this is who that is. It's like, well, either you respect an artist's wish to not have their name be part of it in the public discussion in a kind of music critique sort of way, or you don't. Like, why do for one but not the other? So like, I'm kind of going along with, if they want to stay anonymous, let's fine.
Yeah, respect it.
Like, I get the where you're coming from. I completely agree with, but is it not slightly different if the person that everyone is saying this person is already like a massive celebrity? Is it slightly different because people are just picking up on the fact that they already know this person, as opposed to they're trying, like, whereas Vessel, for example, started as quote unquote nobody, you know what I mean? And they've from the very beginning not wanted to be known, whereas this person, I guess, has wanted to be known. They've been not behind a mask in previous projects. So is it a little bit different?
Yeah, to me it's different.
Like, I'm not going to go out of my way in a video to be like, this is this person. But I do think it's my point. Yeah,
I'm not going to be doing whack-a-mole in the comments being like, don't reveal who they are, because, you know, for the things that you said there. But like, but if you are making content that's consumed at scale by people, I don't think you're helping that band do what they would like to do by including that as part of the conversation.
I agree. Yeah, with content, like, I won't mention the names or anything, but as like a fan, like, I have no problem saying who it is, because like they're already established. But the whole sleep token thing, like, there's like, you know, there's a lot more context behind that. And one other thing, like, wearing the mask and doing that live, he's going to be so sweaty.
Oh, I know. I thought the same thing.
Foot. Like,
full suit and gloves and a mask. He is in real trouble.
Yeah. I know you're trying to hone in on the sleep token stuff, and come on, you should have planned ahead and maybe opened up the mouth or something.
He's going to need like one of those F1 drivers ice pack vests underneath to keep him cool.
Maybe.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because, I mean, they're playing a download, assuming they'll be doing like more than just one song, and there's only one song released. So is it going to be a case of just release all of those songs before download, or will people just be going with knowing one song?
Probably they'll know one, maybe two, depends how many there's every chance that they'll play songs that are not heard yet at download.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see the kind of crowd they pull.
It's going to be heaving. It's going to be an absolute mess, but yeah, I have to try and check it out.
And unfortunately, Drew won't be there.
I know. Didn't think we were going to go into this, but
Bird might be there.
Sorry.
So we'll see.
It's okay. It's okay. I know.
Right. We can move along. Because we do want to talk about even In Arcadia. But first, perhaps, have you heard the new Vianova track, Drew?
I haven't. I'm dying to hear it, though. Have you heard the new Lorna Shore track?
No, because there's no music video yet, right?
Yeah, I got the video a little bit early, so I have seen it, but I haven't.
Like in emails or something, or another like DM.
You
and your leagues.
No, it's not. It's just lips are sealed. Okay, that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. I've seen it. I've heard the song. Okay, the video is irrelevant. I've heard the song, and I've seen the video. But so I guess we won't talk about that. I think it comes out in like an hour or 45 minutes or something like that.
Let's also not talk about Vianova in depth, but all I'll say for Drew is I've been 50-50 on their songs recently. This one, I'm not 50-50 on.
You're all in?
I'm all in.
Their last song was fucking phenomenal. Melancholic, right?
Yeah, what did you think of the
mostly
Melancholic?
Awesome.
That's mostly awesome.
Mostly fantastic. They did some weird stuff like 3/4 of the way through, and I was like, but mostly great.
It's so
Drew.
sick.
If you really like Melancholic, I'm tied with this song and Melancholic.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I just love the cool vibe to it. It's such a sick song.
You're
cool.
going to like the new one. I'm not going to say anything, but I will say one thing is that what I like about Vianova too is all their songs are different. They never do the same thing. So that's what. And I think it's really working in their favor because they're trying to almost find their identity and see what works instead of writing the same song over and over. So, yeah, this new song is fucking sick.
I think you should try and check it out today, Drew, because when you see my thumbnail and title, I don't think it's going to help you.
Okay. Well, I can do it straight after this. I'll figure something out. That. It's just, this is already busiest day ever, but I'll do it. I'll figure it out.
Did you hear it on Twitch, or did you just make a video yourself? Anticipating the song.
I did it on Twitch, but it wasn't requested by anyone. I think my producer Paul was like, "You should check it out."
Oh, okay.
Fuck.
Paul.
Yeah.
Good old Paul.
Man's got good taste.
Also,
he does.
The new Revnoir track, I got to shout them out as well. It's fucking sick.
Yes.
They have smashed it on that one as well.
Yeah,
They
I
just-
wasn't crazy about their last. Like, I liked their last single; it was different, but this new
different,
song is a heater.
It's
I seen
my
it was
favorite of
Like 2.5
theirs.
minutes. And I was like, "Fucking hell!" They
Favorite.
smashed on this.
Yeah, that's
Very
my
good.
favorite. Like
Wow.
after
I
Bang
think
Bang,
it
this
might
is my
be
favorite.
My favorite, yeah, I think so. The fucking melodies and just how brutal it is as well. I think they're just like that band is on fire. I mean, like there's a single there, here and there that I'm like a little bit indifferent to, but I don't think they're bad. But like for the most part, they're just fucking relentless. Like just a band that kind of came out of nowhere with like Robin involved and everything. I just knew Robin, and then all of a sudden just like spiraling, getting better. Single. They're doing it right.
Robin's crushing it because, like, yeah, I think the other members were in a band prior where Robin's the YouTuber, so he had the connections to us, and now we're kind of making videos. And then, like, I think all of us are like, yeah, sure, we'll make a video for your stuff. And then we're like, holy shit,
It's good.
like, you guys are good, really good.
Yeah, it's good.
It's really good. Yeah, the
Another
boys are
good
smashing.
band to put. I don't know if you guys have heard them yet. Sugar Spine.
I've heard their stuff before, yeah.
Oh, they had a new song come out recently, and it's fabulous. You should.
I wonder if I heard it. I'm going to check on my phone so it doesn't glitch out my computer.
To Fade Quietly.
Okay.
And I think if there are fans of Invent Animate and Silent Planet, I think they should check that out.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I heard Chrome Colored Ribcage.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
I think this is better.
Very cool name. Have you heard the new Orbiculture track?
Not yet.
Yes.
What did you think, Burp?
I thought it was pretty cool. Like, I've already heard like their albums and stuff. I think they're a really sick band. If you're into like that heavy metal Metallica stuff, they fucking hit. And I think Drew, you said something about like headbanging or something, which is that's kind of what they are. They're just a good headbang. Yeah. But what I like about Orbit Culture's music in the past is like the first half of the song is like, you know what to expect, and then the second half completely flips the script and it's like a whole different song. And then but they can been kind of doing that formula for a while with it. And then the new song is just kind of like it gets a little bit repetitive, although I love it. It kind of overstays its welcome for me, but man, it's got a sick groove and you can't help that into it.
The opening to that song is nuts.
Yeah, that's absurd. Like the first like 2-3 minutes locked in. After that, I start to lose a little bit of interest, but it's still sick.
I did feel that way as well. It was like 5 minutes or something like that. Yeah, it's 5:09, and I just after about like 3.5 minutes, I was kind of like, it probably could have been wrapped up here. Like I was already sold on the song after the first 10 seconds when the groove broke in, but yeah, that band is fucking sick.
Yeah, Tank is huge on those guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Sick.
Very good.
So,
shall we do it, lads?
Well, hold up. Before we get into that, I want to talk about the last podcast because obviously I wasn't there, which is pains me. What?
Do you know what? This is a great point to tell people that if you don't want to miss previous episodes, you want to see all of our stuff, make sure you subscribe to this podcast, and then you can check out all the other great chats. Metal Burp, continue.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so unfortunately, I was having so many technical issues, but the podcast was so great. George is so incredibly insightful, but like, yeah, I think that one of the biggest takeaways too is not obviously giving us some sleep token like behind the scenes stuff, but like his wisdom about life was so interesting. Very methodical, like smart, articulate man. And there was a couple of points that you guys were talking about where I just wish I could have been part of the conversation. One of those was when you guys were talking about the love of Prague. I'm like, oh my God, like I could add so much to this conversation. Yeah. There was also talk about one of the questions that I wanted to ask him was about overproduction. And I'm glad that he did touch on it, but I really wanted to get his take on modern production. It sounds like he has definitely a take that it's going to lose emotion in the coming years. And then another thing was like, yeah, he even talked about health and other things too. Like, man, yeah, I am disappointed, but like you guys did an excellent job carrying the conversation. Obviously it was a bummer that I couldn't be part of that, but the podcast blew up like on Twitter and on Reddit, like people are sharing it. So good job, boys.
There was so much gold in there. It's such interesting insights, not just from the Sleep Token side of things, but for everything else as well, on the music production side. And, we'll just have to have him back at some point in the future, and we can have more of that conversation with yourself, Burb.
Yeah. And it sounds like he wants to. He's just, talking about it. He'd love to be back too. So I love that. I love that a lot of our guests are so open to the idea of coming back, because it seems like they have a great time, because it's like the three of us. It doesn't feel like one-on-one. And also, this is another thing, man. The great thing that we got going on here is that when I you know, I initially invited George, but like, imagine if I did my podcast with him and then I was having these issues. That would have been an embarrassment. Like, that would look so unprofessional. But guess what? You guys could take it over, even though I'm having these issues, right? So it kind of worked out.
Strength in numbers.
Strength in numbers, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was such a fun rollout. Like, we even took a leaf out of Sleep Token's book with the whole the cryptic marketing. It was fucking fantastic. I loved every second of it. But like, that was, again, it just shows like when people are like in that, it's like the way people are with president right now. When people are in that like headspace of thinking everything is like some subliminal message, they'll just go with anything. Like, I literally put up an Instagram story of me saying, hey, keep an eye out on the Metal Roundup podcast. Sleep Token fans are going to enjoy this podcast later. Which was true. That wasn't like trying to be cryptic. I was just like, genuinely look out for it. And then it pops up on Reddit that people are like, Drew is teasing something. Is there going to be code and something to do with the new Sleep Token album? And then we kind of obviously were like, okay, we can either shy away from this or go full lean into it. But again, we didn't really do anything wrong. We
didn't full lean into it. I added a comment to with just dots, just dot. Like, just to say essentially, I've seen this.
Oh, we did lean into it. We put
and then people were like, you're teasing us.
Yeah. Oh, well,
yeah, you guys did the most. Yeah.
Yeah, we
I just did the 12 p.m. thing.
That. But that was all in good faith. And do you know what? It worked. The podcast has like 60,000 views. I mean, I'm sure it gave it a good kick up like at the start, you know? People just be like...
Yeah, you guys talked about Radiohead too, and then old like movies. Like, I realized I actually share a lot.
Radiohead, it was just fucking...
I share so many more interests than I realized with George. So I definitely would love to have him on, and hopefully my computer doesn't screw up.
Yeah, he was a sick guest.
My favorite moment that was echoed in so many comments was when he was talking about, you know, I've only ever met one person who could listen to any music and immediately play it.
Yeah.
And then people were just like, why didn't you ask him who? I was like,
come on.
We don't have to ask him who. We can just.
Can you imagine if I did, and then with my shitty audio, I unmute myself? Who are you talking about, George?
Part of me wishes I didn't say yeah, and we could just see how long that silence went on for. Like, if we just, who's going to break the silence first? Because it was so good. That little silent moment, we all kind of like looked at each other a little bit like, ooh. Yeah, there was like a weird feeling because obviously you're trying to remain like professional and like talk to him, but at the same time, as a fan, I was kind of like having this out of body experience at some moments. I'm like, I'm talking to the guy who's created 2 of my favorite albums of all time and like has been so close to one of my favorite artists of all time. I'm just like, what the fuck is happening right now? So just trying to like stay composed. Yeah, it was so weird. But and because of how stoic he is, it's like I felt like an absolute Neanderthal talking to him. I was like, so George, like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's cool though.
He's got a great sense of humor though.
Oh yeah. He does. Great guest. Fabulous guest. Now, folks, enough of the teasing. One more tease. If you haven't joined our Patreon yet, you can do that. There's a Discord server that's exclusive to Patreon people. And we'll chat in there about what we think of the episodes. And then there's bonus episode content as well. Anyway.
Steve.
Guys, I gotta pay the bills. Even In Arcadia album has been out. I've seen each of your kind of reactions to that. It's been a week since that album came out. I presume we've all listened to it a few times since. Let's have a chat about, I guess at a high level, how are we feeling about it overall now? And then perhaps we can talk about a couple of the standout songs and what we think there. But I guess first question, I'll start with you, Drew. Is your impression and experience of that album similar now to your first go around, or has anything changed for you in how you see it?
With an album this special, it's gonna be hard to ever be the same as the first time around because it's you're stepping into a completely new world. So it's never gonna be exactly the same as the first listen, of course. But I think it's pretty close to it still. There is some songs that I've kind of allowed myself time with to realize they're kind of the duds of the album. But Sleep Token are not a band that has a flawless discography, in my opinion. Like, I mean, okay, in terms of the albums, I think they're all pretty flawless, but there's songs in each album that I'm a bit like, So I wasn't going into this album being like every single song has to be perfect for this to be a fantastic album. So there is a couple of those songs that I think have a time and a place for certain moods, but I have found myself kind of skipping over them.
Which is your least favorite song and why is it Provider?
I thought it was going to be track 3.
Provider. Oh God, it's between. I'm sure. I don't really know. I like all the songs, but I'm trying to think like of which songs I'm
like
trying
we're
to.
saying, which song is only like a high
Yeah.
solid? You know what I mean? Like,
I thought it was
kind
going
of-
to be Past Self. Really?
I like Past Self a lot.
Past
I think
Self
that's great.
is not bad. I can see why. It kind of feels. Do you know what? I'm actually enjoying the kind of more compact songs. Like Emergence, I'm kind of just over because I've heard it too many times. Like I don't really go back to Emergence now because I'm just like whatever. Even in Arcadia is my fucking go-to. That song is an absolute masterpiece through and through. I love that song. Dangerous is really fun because it's very experimental. It has some heavy moments and it's also again quite compact. There's so many good moments. I'd say Past Self or Provider are definitely battling at the bottom, but I don't really know.
I guess Past Self is sort of maybe the Do You Wish That You Loved
Yeah.
Me of this
Oh,
album.
yeah, it is,
It's
yeah.
got that pop sense to it. Well, I loved that song,
Yeah.
and I really like this one. First, it's like this is cool. It's kind of light. It's pop and light, and it's nice. I'm enjoying it. It's kind of catchy. I didn't know whether it would grow and I'd get more fond of it, or whether I'd be like, it's actually kind of annoying the catchiness of that. The former is true for me. I think Past Self is a fucking great song. I really like that one. Provider, I think has moments. It's got great moments.
Yeah.
But I think when it starts, I'm always just like, I don't know if I'm in the mood for this.
That's funny because that's the same thing with me with Provider. And it's funny because like when we were like predicting it, I remember going like Provider, and that was kind of like the hook at the beginning too. And like the first 2 minutes of that song are like I really can't get into too much, but then the song takes shape when that chorus hits. When the chorus comes in, like yes, but the first 2 minutes, not for me.
Yeah, we kind of nailed it. Like I was literally like, I want to provide you with the goods. Like I mean, we were on the ball with the sexual theme of it. I mean,
We
were definitely on the ball.
The stuff that we like grinded to, like if you watch it back, we were probably spot on with those. Steve hated it, but we were onto something.
Right. Yeah, for
maybe
sure.
I had you guys grinding in my head. I was like, no, I can't get into this song.
Sorry, you're picturing that, Steve.
So we all collectively agree that Provider and Past Self are maybe the weakest songs on the album. Or...
I think if you had to average us out, sure, but I like Past Self. I think. That's
okay. Well, then what about you, Steve? If you were you like Past Self, so what would you have lower than that?
Oh, Dangerous. I think it's maybe a little bit lower than that. I think Dangerous is good. It's decent. It's cool. I think I have this little thought in my head, and this might make people go mad, but I think this album is in some ways an extension forward of songs like The Apparition. I think that's why I'm like it's not as much my vibe because it's a little bit more, I don't know, obvious in its sentiment and expression than previous things. It's kind of just it's very expressively on the nose. There's a little bit fewer metaphorical moments. There are songs that have that. Even in Arcadia is one of those. That's why it's one of my favorite songs. Infinite Baths, Gethsemane for sure. But yeah, the ones that are a little bit more transparent, I think, are a little bit less interesting somehow. And even just sonically, they're a bit structurally, they're just a little bit more like, oh, we're in a cool sound and we enjoy that cool sound for a song. It's less kind of progressive or completely different, like a Past Self, which I think is more interesting. So Dangerous for me is like it's a fine, a fine Sleep Token song. Provider, I think, is in a similar wheelhouse there.
I think you explained it quite well. Because I understand, like on the nose kind of thing, where it's not as like much interpretation. For me, Past Self is the dud on the record for me. It's the Do You Wish That You Love Me. Now I get it that people like it. That's the great thing about this band is that certain people like. There's no exact answer that everyone likes the same song, right? Sleep Token doesn't have like that one hit, like play this song, right? Because everyone just has different favorites. It's very rare. But the Legend of Zelda kind of beat is like, I love those games, but like, I don't know. I guess I like Sleep Token to have a little bit more peaks and valleys, if you will, because like I feel like that song kind of just starts and doesn't really do too much other than just kind of does the same thing. Where like Provider, if it stayed within the first 2 minutes and just did more around that, I don't think I would have enjoyed that song. But then the song changes, and to me, one of the best songs is Gethsemane because of all the different switches. When it okay, I went to the listening party. Right? And part of me is like, damn, I wish I could record this, but it was cool to be part of it, right? But I remember with Gethsemane and then the math rock came in, I lost my shit. Like, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't film this. Like, that kind of sucked. But like, yeah, that math rock element blew my mind. And then the riff that's kind of Carmen Jaka, and then even the hip hop section, like, which is, I like the hip hop stuff from Sleep Token, but I'm definitely more of the metal fan. But when it got into the final part of Gethsemane, and then he hits that lower register when he starts doing the hip hop, like fucking hits for me.
Yes, I enjoyed that there was a surprising hip hop element to it. I sort of apparently Post Malone. I've not listened to a lot of Post Malone because I can't really validate that, but a few people have been saying it's sort of in that area. Like, I like that they do that because it's different, but it's not quite my jam. But the second half of that, I was so into that more like low register hip hop casual. That delivery was fucking great. Less of the sort of pop melody, R&B melody tropes, but yeah.
It sounds like we're all in the same boat with that lower register, right? With the hip hop section, Gethsemane.
Yeah, it's so cool because he goes from like a kind of like lower register hip hop section into this, like, I keep referring to it as like a Dermot Kennedy-esque kind of like scream singing section that we've never really heard from Vestal before, like he did at the end of, it's even in Arcadia as well. You know, when he has the like the real raspy. Fuck it, he did do it a little bit in Bloodsport, didn't he?
A little bit of Bloodsport live, and then also he does it a little bit in Sugar, kind of. It's like a distorted kind of vocal.
Yeah, it was fucking sick though. But I feel like that's kind of a similar ballpark to the one that he did in even Arcadia at the end of Gethsemane. But he's doing that like off of this kind of like hip hop beat as well. It's fucking so cool. So yeah, the end of Gethsemane is so good, and then everything that comes prior to that. Yeah, there's some really sick songs. I think what do you guys think of? It kind of bugs me, the similarities between Look to Windward and Emergence in terms of their actual structure being back to back. It feels a little bit odd at the start of an album to have those two songs like run together.
I would agree, and I think my immediate takeaway at the end of the album was actually a lot of these songs have a very similar. There's a couple of moments that are very different and experimental, but a lot of the ones like that are kind of similar. When the full band comes in, it's a kind of similar full band coming in moment. Towards the end of a song. And I'm not to say, Sleep Token have been doing that for albums. It's not it's not that I'm not satisfied with them having quiet moments and later on having a big band drop, but even those big band drops in other songs in the past have been quite different sonically. This album is way more consistent, which I thought at first listen was slightly less interesting. But the more I hear the album, the more I accept that for what that is. I'm just enjoying the songs. But at first listen, like, it's not quite hit me because I feel like it largely delivered on my expectation in a weird way, which I wasn't expecting Sleep Token to do. And oddly, the ones that did not deliver what I expected, only half the time did I like the change, like the kind of rappy elements immediately in Gethsemane towards the end there.
Yeah, it's funny that with Look to Windward, like I don't really have that issue personally, but to me, I'm like, this feels like quite like Ascensionism. Doesn't, it has like this build up with this payoff and a breakdown in like the 3/4 mark, and then it ends with a breakdown moment, just like Ascensionism. It has a hip hop moment too. To me, that is the standout track for my taste because I absolutely love the build up and just like where are we getting at, and just like that
fucking great song.
The suspense. I love the suspense, and then the drop hits like a truck for me. And then like the second or the 3/4 mark when it gets into hip hop, I think is cool. But then it gets into it sounds like the 1 or 2 EPs when he starts hitting the high falsetto notes. I'm like, oh my God, this sounds like the early Sleep Token days. And then it ends with a fucking huge breakdown again. I'm like, this song is amazing. It's my favorite song off the record. And what I don't know how or maybe Drew, you probably know him, but Hideo Kojima, the video game auteur, he posted on his Instagram the vinyl, and he's playing Look to Windward too. And I'm just like, me being a huge Metal Gear Solid fan, and I'm just like, yes, Hideo Kojima, love it. That's all the validation I need, because there's a lot of people shitting on the record. We can go on about like Fantano and stuff if we want, and I don't care, because like I said, the validation I need is Hideo Kojima, a video game auteur like that who has great taste in music, bumping some Look to Windward. Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. It's I don't know. It just I might even just rearrange the album. A lot of people have been like rearranging the album in different ways and saying that this is maybe how it should have been because of the voting system. Like there's loads of different conspiracies, which is really, really cool. And people are saying, what did they say? I think the album should finish with Caramel is what people were saying. If you like rearrange it. What did they say it should start with? Was it Emergence?
It would start with Even in Arcadia.
Oh,
I mean, because
yes.
what they're kind of saying is on the vinyl, you're going to end up with 2 vinyls. And the first half of the album's on one. So it's 5 tracks and 5 tracks. And it was kind of like either if The House Must Endure is a certain playlist, and that's the one that won, and that I think is what we have. But if it's like The Cycle Must End, then that ends with Caramel being like, listen, right, fucking enough. Because Even in Arcadia could make absolute sense as an opener. You know, they were teasing that sound of the sort of chimes of the original Jerry Black Flamingo. That's how that opens. You can imagine the album opening with that. You know?
Yeah.
I have a new theory. So bear with me as I try to articulate this, but I'm still on the theory, and I have been since the beginning with the 2 houses, that we're getting a double album. Now there's some teases that they've been putting on that seems like there might be leading to that. We don't know, but if it is a double album, now with the songs being rearranged and how they should be rearranged, what if we do get the double album, but then they do like a complete version of it and then actually do the proper track listing with like 20 songs or something? That would be insane.
Oh, I'd love a double album.
I've been on that theory since the beginning, and the way, what was it, the battle continues or something from what they posted.
Yeah.
Which, but Drew, it could be an Elden Ring Night Ring thing too. It's coming soon.
Yeah.
And they showed the image of the Elden Ring stuff, right?
I know. Just, like, surely not another album.
Yeah.
And if so, when? Like, did they just start another single thing again? Like, imagine they just start dropping singles again. Oh, my brain.
One thing that is hurting the theory, though, is that there's the bonus tracks in the Japanese release. So, like, why would there be a double album if there's also, like, these B-sides?
But they apparently are just instrumentals.
Yeah. It's an emergence instrumental and a piano version of Even in Arcadia, I believe.
Oh, double theory it is, or double album theory.
We're still on, hopefully.
Yeah.
Listen, RCA, we're going to blow people's fucking minds, right?
Here he is. Yeah.
I'm going to give you, mate, here's a great deal. I'm going to give you 2 albums for the price of 1, yeah? This other album, it fell out the back of a truck, but it's fine. We'll sell it.
Such a gangster.
But it can't be soon, the double album, I don't think, because the album was being leaked well in advance.
What if the first album is the 9th of May and the second album is the 5th of September, the American versus Europe way of doing months and days?
Wow,
5995.
I never thought that, but I did see a really cool theory. It was like a comment on a TikTok that people are sharing where this girl kind of, it was like on a half eclipse or something that the first album got released. And then there's another half eclipse at the end of the year. And then they're like, that's when they're going to drop it to make a full eclipse. And then that's where, like, do you halt this eclipse in me?
Is that the 5th of September?
Or something like that. I think it is in September. It's like the other half eclipse or something. Like, I'm not wording it correctly. I don't have the comments on hand, but the way that she explained it, I'm like, I think this girl's on to something.
And you know what would be so cool? This would be something that, like, we've never really seen before, is obviously they've brought in such a large demographic of people to listen to, like, heavier music now. So now they have that audience. They can do whatever the fuck they want. They've got, like, almost 10 million monthly listeners. Now they drop the most disgusting heavy album for the second.
Yeah.
10 tracks of pure brutality. Imagine.
Apparently, there will be a partial lunar eclipse on September 7th.
See?
It's pretty close.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
Isn't that weird? Like, I'm again.
Maybe they drop a single on that day and the album's like 2 days later.
My original theory was that we were going to get one heavy album and one lighter album, because, like, one criteria that made me kind of go off this idea was that they're influenced by Periphery, right? And Periphery has that double album, Alpha Omega. So I'm like, maybe they're going to do like a heavy album and then a softer album. But even in Arcadia has a lot of heavy moments. So I feel like the double album might be just more different kind of songs. Like, I don't think there's going to be a theme to it, but who knows? Because one is like House Viridian, and what was the other one?
The Feathered Host.
Feathered Host. Yeah,
that doesn't really spark intensity or anger. Who knows, man? Who knows?
Well, I don't know. It's in it, like, this band still has, like, we just got an album and we're still, like, we're already talking about new music. Like, they have everyone, well, people who like Sleep Token in the palm of their hands. It's insane. Like we're here talking about it like, oh my God, when's the next album? Like I'm still absorbing, like I still haven't put out a review for the actual album yet. I just didn't do a review at the end of my reaction, so I just posted that. And it's just been so busy with all of the shit that's been going on this week that I still need to post that. So like I'm talking about a new album before I've even put my review out for the fucking Even in Arcadia. So
there's always the chance that there isn't another album, and the folks who
likely,
Token are going like, "Oh
Yep.
fuck," people are gonna be really disappointed.
It's
Don't get mad at me if it's not
isn't.
true. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Like we're talking about an absolute very uncertain thing right now. It's definitely more likely that there's not going to be another album for another couple of years than there will be an actual album in like a couple of months.
Yeah.
But there's always hope. Yeah.
It's true, yeah. But the what you're going off about is the genius marketing behind all this is just it's crazy because we got the music, we love listening to it, but it's the whole lead up, it's the whole it's the anticipation and then talking about it. This is why we're called the Sleep Token Roundup right now. Like we love talking about this band, and we can continue for more than we finish at like an hour. We can go on for 2 hours, really.
Yeah,
this is what we do.
I would love to talk about other bands. I really would.
Yeah. Okay, that's one thing too, is that there's been so much Sleep Token content lately on my channel that I'm getting a little bit fatigued by it, and I'm just excited to check out other bands and get back onto that routine. I think even you, Drew, like it's been crazy nonstop.
But it's been crazy because I've done about 78 Sleep Token shorts at this point, so I am getting a bit sick of them. But like that is purely on me. And I know, look, like I've been saying in the lead up to this as well, we were all anticipating this album so much, and we were saying to like soak it in, live in the moments. To me, we're still kind of in the moment. It's still in that like fun, giddy stage. So I'm still trying to enjoy it as much as possible, because realistically, next week I'll have completed all of my Sleep Token content. I love today I posted another Sleep Token video regarding the President band. So there'll always be a way to talk about Sleep Token. Don't you worry. But obviously it's gonna slowly peter off. So yeah, it's fun to kind of to live in the moment and just enjoy it, even though there's been so much going on. But it's it was periods like last year where we would have wished to be this busy, where it was like fucking hell, there's nothing really happening. So now it's just like fucking enjoy it, But
you're right.
Steve, I have a bone to pick with you.
Uh-oh.
You joined my Twitch stream at one point. And I believe you said something along the lines of,
"Oh yeah,
there is." Now I don't want to misquote you here, so you can chime in, but I know what I've seen roughly. You said something along the lines of, "Even in Arcadia, there's not one song on this album that could hold a candle to anything on Take Me Back to Eden." Did I misquote you there?
I don't think that quote is it's entirely correct.
Okay.
But I probably hinted at that.
Okay. Can you elaborate?
I can't remember how it started. I think you might have said something about, I think so far these songs, or some of these songs are better than on Eden. Or would it be wild to think that they're, or I can't remember what it was, but I think I said something like hot take. Every song on Eden is eclipses this. Or I don't think I specified every song. I think I was talking about the album. I think for me, I think you might have said like maybe it's the best album they've done. I was like, nothing's better than Eden, I think, and I think this still isn't my estimation.
Okay, well, look, it's a nice attempt to turn it on me. I appreciate the attempt. Like I think you said. First of all, I didn't say that. So what I will say is I don't know exactly what you said, of course, but do you like? I don't think this album is better than Eden. I think it's not. Someone described it very well, where I think it was Tundra, who basically said something along the lines of, like, Taking Back to Eden is a 10 out of 10 album. This is solid, but I think it's more of like to me anyway, I'm not speaking for you guys, but I'd put this at like a 9 for my own personal tastes, because if Eden's a 10, this isn't quite the same level, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it for different reasons. Especially going into it with so much hype, it's still delivered for me on different levels in certain areas, but certain songs to me are far better than anything they did on Eden as well. So, yeah.
I appreciate
where I'm at with it is that I still stand by my rating of Even in Arcadia. I think it is a masterpiece. I think it's an incredibly well put series of songs. It's really interesting. It's satisfying. It's creative. It's a wonderful record, and it's so impressive. I prefer personally other Sleep Token albums as something that I would more willingly put on. Like, I think I think Sundowning is probably the best album still for me. I think if I'm going, which album do I want to listen to right now? I'm putting on Sundowning, I think. But like Take Me Back to Eden, I think is pretty perfect. I think even Arcadia is a masterpiece, and I'm enjoying it more the more I listen to it. It is growing, but it's not as the quantity of moments in it that align with exactly my taste of Sleep Tokens type of songs is a smaller percentage versus other albums.
Yeah. And also, like, I watched both of your reactions at this point, and Steve, I really appreciated your reaction because, you know, we get called a Sleep Token Roundup, but at least we could still be balanced with our opinions. And I liked it that you had, you know, you were trying to figure out your actual feeling about this record because you obviously enjoyed it, but, you know, there's certain expectations that, and maybe you were just being honest. And I really like that. And Drew, you fucking nailed your reaction. You crushed it. You were hilarious, dude. I loved it. And before I get into my thoughts about, you know, how I feel about the record, like I brought my girlfriend to the listening party because you're allowed to have a +1. And she's like a little bit, she likes Sleep Token, but I think part of the reason why she doesn't love them as much as me is that she joined a little bit later on when it became like, you know, this cult following band. A lot of the reasons why people don't like them, a lot of people online saying like, oh, they suck. But when you don't listen to those people and just, you know, listen to the music for yourself, you end up like, oh, this is actually good. So I brought her along and she ended up really liking the record after the listening party. But then I did the live stream the next day. And she joined in on the live stream and listened to the record again, the non-singles, and then she ended up loving it. She's just like, oh my God, I cannot wait to listen to this record again. Now she's going back to the previous Sleep Token record.
Cool.
So yeah, and where I'm getting at is that, you know, even in Arcadia, if you weren't following the band and then you're just starting with even in Arcadia, that's probably going to be their best album to you because it really showcases all of like Sleep Token's music. But for me, you know, following along with their journey at the same time as like you guys, I with Take Me Back to Eden, it absolutely floored me. And it's because Sleep Token's writing style started to get quite predictable for me. It started to have this build up to this crescendo moment, and I just felt like all the payoffs were kind of there. Sure, one's metal, one's soft, one's electronic, but they all kind of did the same thing for me. Where Take Me Back to Eden was just like changing the genres, writing songs that are 7 minutes, 8 minutes long. I'm like, whoa, this is the whole new Sleep Token to me. So that album is special. And then this new record, you know, it's funny because I was assuming this is going to be Take Me Back to Eden on steroids. Like that was my prediction. And I feel like it kind of is. It's like the heavier moments are heavier, like in Infinite Bass. The poppier stuff is even poppier. The hip hop stuff is even more hip hop. Like it literally is Take Me Back to Eden on steroids for me. So I got what I was predicting and I liked it, but it doesn't hit quite as hard as Take Me Back to Eden for me. So yeah, Take Me Back to Eden is a 10 out of 10 record for me. And like, although some songs Do Wish That You Love Me are skippable, but other songs on it I think are masterpieces, and I think the record just did such a new refreshing thing that other bands weren't doing, and that's why I gave it a 10 out of 10, where even Arcadia is just more that it hits. Like even Look to Windward gives me Ascensionism vibes, but it's not the complete most freshest thing I've ever heard from them. Gethsemane is probably one of the most freshest songs, and I love that song for that. Even Arcadia is beautiful. Infinite Bass. Honestly, the first 4 minutes of that song are pretty cool, but the last 4 minutes with that breakdown is just, it's like a statement to the haters. Like, and people are like, oh yeah, we're not a metal band. We're not trying to be metal, but if we want to be metal, we can be fucking metal. So bless you, Steve. Bless you. I'm probably going to give this, I'd probably give the record like a 8.6 or something.
Woo, it's lower than I thought you'd go.
Yeah. I like, the thing is like, I really like it. Take Me Back to Eden just blew my mind. Sundowning is incredible too. This Place Will Become Your Tomb, I actually don't vibe out to it as much as others because I am the metalhead. Well, we all are, but I mean, like, I just love the metal elements, and that album just wasn't really speaking to me. Like you, Steve, you said there's like, you know, there's certain palettes that Sleep Token hits. That So, yeah, 8.6.
That's fair.
What about you, Steve? If you had to give it a number, I know
If
you're
I
not
did
really
a
doing
number,
numbers.
what a terrible rating system. Who would use a number system? If I were to give it a number, I think Burb's right. I think something around an 8.5 out of 10 is probably about right. I think it is brilliant, but not as brilliant. But still, like, part of the problem for this that you can never get out of your head is the subjectivity of they've raised their bar so high that, like, if this album came out of nowhere and the previous albums didn't exist, this would be a 10 out of 10. Holy fucking shit.
Yep.
But the context does inform how you feel about new versions of event. I think I might have said this in my review. It's like that bar keeps rising. This is the first time I could really feel the gap of what's possible in my expectation closing.
Yeah.
Like there's only so much they could possibly do now to really blow my mind. But then, you know, like the song Damocles wasn't a mind-blowing song, but I still adore it. It doesn't have to be something amazing and new and creative, but it just has to deliver on something that I connect with and I enjoy personally. And it does that for all kinds of people in different ways. But there's moments that certainly do.
There's one thing about this record that's different from Taking Back to Eden for me, and I think for you too, Steve, is that Taking Back to Eden hit certain emotions within us. Like even like Euclid is just such a powerful closer, and like you get those certain feelings. And people say Gethsemane is such a heartbreaking song, and sure, like lyrics are like heartbreaking to him, but they don't really resonate with me as much as with my own personal experience. And then so for the album to end on this crushing breakdown, it's badass. It's so cool sounding. But Taking Back to Eden did something that was just like, I don't know, emotional ending, but there's certain moments that just made me a little bit feel different emotions where, and I think that could be another reason, like it just hit when I wanted to mosh, it made me want to mosh, it made me want to feel sad and made me want to feel really sad, where this new record feels like a good balance of everything, but doesn't hit those highs quite the same.
Yeah. Also, part of this, I think, is the fact that Eden was the third album of a trilogy. And so there's threads to earlier songs, lyrically, sonically, and it, that song Euclid not only is a beautiful melodic song that has wonderful payoffs in it and music theory wise, but it also closed the chapters. The end, it was a crescendo end of a movie, basically. And that's it. You then have a new album afterwards, like, okay, we need to set up some new stuff here. And it's kind of like we're opening a door. And that's not as satisfying because you have to have some threads open for that to work. And the similar thing in Tomb, it's a middle piece. And it's like, well, what is this? How do we connect with it? I don't know where we are. That's part of the point. So I think Tomb is a masterpiece album as well. But I find it almost draining to listen to because it's so despairing and confusing and difficult at times, with beautiful moments, but also it's a hard album. So I think even Arcadia is another one of those where it's like, because of the transparency of the lyrics in this, you can't help but either go along with the journey of what they're singing about and be happy to spend some time in that, or maybe that takes a bit of energy you don't have for this album all the time.
Yeah, I think the band is so good at what they do. I feel like they'll know that they probably, they'll get away with it. Don't get me wrong, they will get away with it. But I think they're smart enough to know that I just can't help but feel like the next album, especially with the way Infinite Bats ends, it has to lean more into heaviness. I think doing the same formula, because they've kind of done the Take Me Back to Eden. And the obvious next step is, how can we do more of this? Because it was such a popular thing for them. Of course, they have to just try and lean into it a little bit more. Obviously, they're still taking risks and trying new things. But Burb even said it himself. It is Taking Back to Eden juiced up. Like, it really is. It's just so much more of everything that was good about that. Maybe not to everyone. There's certain elements that are maybe missing that weren't in Taking Back to Eden, like what Burb said, with some more emotional elements. But I think a lot of the musical side of things, it is that album just absolutely juiced up. So I'm still full in because I feel like their songwriting is so good and their melody choices are just so amazing. And some of the atmospheres and the emotion they can pull out of me is just like no other band does it. So I'm here for whatever it is they put out. And I'm sure the next album, even if they did another version of Taking Back to Eden juiced up, would still be great. But obviously over time, like you mentioned in your video, Steve, there's going to be a kind of point at which, okay, we're petering off here. It's starting to get very predictable and thus it's getting less enjoyable. So for me personally, I think the next album for my own personal taste, can't follow the same exact kind of formula that we found ourselves in now with this like complete genre mashup. And I don't mean just go heavy like they've been doing in Infinite Bats. I kind of want more of a consistent heater of an album where it's actually like more tracks like Gods with their songwriting style. You know what I mean? Like an actual consistent heavy album where the tones are quite heavy and dark throughout, as opposed to big bright leading song into drop, because they've changed their style so much over the years. I think they could pull it off and just go ridiculously heavy.
If they want to break the cycle, I think they could do something like a full album of songs like Missing Limbs and just go like a full acoustic, gorgeous, beautiful thing as a totally different expression of that band. I'd be here for that too.
I feel like that's more likely than a heavy record. I don't think
Mm.
Sleep Token wants to be known as just a metal band. But I for Drew, man, if they wrote God's Vor record, I would eat that shit up.
Yeah.
If it's like progressive too, and and balance of the soft.
Yeah, but they could find a way to still make it very appealing to the mainstream. I feel like they're that good that they could do something like that, where it's still in a way where their melodies are so undeniable that it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna listen to this. It would just be.
You know what? Because of his screams and like the way that they perform these songs live, because they have to write these songs knowing that they're going to perform live. If it's all so heavy and screamy, then I don't think that might take a toll on their vocals. So probably they have to keep that in mind
to do the screams. So
yeah, but
that should be all right.
I just feel like they don't want to just be metal on stage too, right? So I feel like I don't know, they won't write just a heavy record, but I'm all for it. Just saying,
yeah. But I think they have transcended that metal band anyway. Like a lot of people just do not consider this a metal band. To be honest, this album, I statistically tried to break it down. I basically counted all of the seconds that were actually like using like 7 or 8 string guitar, distorted guitars in my review.
Absolute nerd.
I literally did a 3-hour review where I was like talking to ChatGPT. I was like, yeah. And
how much time do you have?
Yeah,
a lot apparently. But yeah, so it's like 24% of the actual album, roughly, give or take, there is 7 or 8 string guitars playing somewhere. Whether it's like a chord being played for the chorus, like Caramel's chorus, I've considered to be metal, because although, yes, you could have that in a rock song, it's just the way it's tuned. It's just not really going to be in a rock song. It's just too low. So give or take, a quarter of the album, which I was actually surprised by, is actually riffs, heaviness, breakdowns. Obviously metal isn't just low tuned guitars. It can be the drums as well, it can be the screaming, but I had to find a way to kind of go off of one I guess distinguishing factor for metal music. So it's roughly between 23 and 25% of the album has like crushingly heavy moments. Which does that make them a metal band? I don't know, because I guess that's been the big question. They're not metal. They're not metal. This is how heavy Infinite Baths is.
I don't think it has to even be that simple. Like, I don't think it matters. If a band only has a quarter of their music is metal, you could say they're a metal band. You could also say they're not a metal band. It doesn't really matter. Like, I wouldn't say, if someone says like, "Oh, what do you listen to?" and I say like metal, and they go like who? I wouldn't think like Sleep Token. Like, I do love Sleep Token, but that wouldn't be my first example of a metal band. They have metal in their music, absolutely, but like they're so much more expansive than that. I think even if you said that they're a metal band, would be kind of a limitation of them. True. I don't know, but then I'm not really a genre careful individual.
Sorry, go ahead, Drew. I just have a theory that I'd like to go over.
Sure, yeah. I was just going to say, I guess from our point of view, for sure, I agree with you that I would be the same. Like, if I'm thinking metal music and someone's like, "Oh, what do you listen to?" I'd probably lean into something a little bit heavier. That's more consistently or traditionally metal. But for people that are not in the space, if there is low-tuned, distorted guitars, as far as they are concerned, it is metal music. Like, I've had this with all of my friends who are not metalheads. It's like, oh, like my girlfriend is not a metalhead at all, so I deal with this on a daily basis, where it's like, oh, I liked the song until it went ridiculously metal. Therefore, Sleep Token is like the heaviest metal band ever. You know what I mean? So
yes, for sure. For example, in a couple of days' time, no, it's tomorrow, is the Eurovision Song Contest, which is something I thoroughly enjoy watching because it is bonkers. But there was a couple of times when Graham Norton, who presents it in the UK and Ireland, will say, "And next we have a metal band. So enjoy, strap in everyone." And it's like, at best, maybe a hard rock. Like, it's nowhere near metal at all. Like, that's you're right. The people that are listening more to other styles of music would hear it Sleep Token and be like, "Oh, fucking yeah, that's metal."
Yeah.
One of the elements to Sleep Token's music is gospel, and so I've been kind of running this theory in my head, and so please, Sleep Token fanatics, this is just my own head, don't go crazy with this, but I wonder if Vessel grew up playing in a church or something because of his piano work, and also so much of the lyrics seem like it has some religious trauma. There's like Gethsemane and other things, which I now realize, putting two and two together, I just never actually wrote it out. But I wonder if it kind of started his music foundation because there's a lot of gospel. Like some of the melodies sound like something that you'd hear in a church song, and then it goes like pure metal. Like, and also it explains like maybe some of the lore behind the band, right? So that's just kind of like a theory I've been wondering.
I can't imagine a world in which you would end up writing these kinds of lyrics and having this sort of angles of things without having some sort of deep religious understanding of things. And therefore you've come away from that and been like, that shit's mad. Let me write some songs expressing how I feel about that whole thing that I was in. Or you might be super into it still and be like, I'm writing, what I see the future and the rapture and the apocalypse to potentially be, because there's lyrics in this album about, basically like, I am the flood, which is a whole thing that, like a religious apocalypse. I am the reckoning. And then the fucking unhinged lyrics at the end being like, and even the angels that are in the final book of the Bible are not like the angels with the wings and the fucking halos. They're like many-legged creatures. They're fucking weird things, which is maybe like these feathered hosts you talk about. So it might be this album's all about the apocalypse. And either he's a historian type and he's interested in this as a concept externally, or it's something that's playing on his mind.
Yeah. I find it also... Sorry, go ahead, Drew.
Just the lyrics, like the opening to Even in Arcadia is maybe the most on the nose, like somewhat reference to, the gates come now, swing wide those gates, because I've paid my penance kindly well in time for Judgment Day, and then somehow I knew my fate. Turns out the God, like he's literally referencing gods swinging open gates. Like my brain just goes to these like white gates being opened, clouds everywhere. So it is maybe, I think he could be onto something with that verb.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's an interesting idea that, like, and one thing I like too is that when it comes to lyrics and talking about religion, when it's like very preachy, I find it cringy, or even it's the opposite end and it's just like very anti like religious. Like I find that cringy too. I think when there's like certain like trauma or using motifs around it and talking about it in nuanced way, using metaphors, I find that far more interesting to me. And so that's why I find Sleep Token's lyrics so captivating in how he phrases things. So that's just one thing that how I appreciate the religious aspect of lyrics.
There's such a dichotomy of Vessel's lyrics because some of them are so genius and then some of them are so bad. The ICU line is horrendous.
I love it. I
so
love
bad
that line.
I actually did, like, I went so deep into this in my review. I was like, I actually just deeped what he just said, and it's the worst lyricism I've ever heard. He says, "You've been hitting my phone so hard." So, like, obviously, there's the entendre of hitting my phone so hard that it's in the ICU, like,
breathing through a tube.
And then he rhymes ICU with ICU. I'm like, Vessel, you're better than this. What are you doing? Like, how is this the same man who wrote the fucking Even in Arcadia title track?
Yeah, I didn't enjoy that ICU repeat there, but like, if I can do it, he can do it twice.
Yeah.
So okay, I don't know if you guys got some heat from not paying attention to the lyrics because in my Gethsemane reaction they're like, oh yeah, this guy's just smiling and head bopping to the song, not even paying attention to the lyrics. I'm like, yeah, that's how I listen to music for the first couple times, but then I start to pick apart the lyrics, and guess what, in Gethsemane I know it's a heartbreaking song, but talking about harlequin brides and robot companions, I'm just like, this feels a little like Hot Topic emo.
I mean, your undercover lover. It's tough. I think it's tough sometimes lyrically. They're so on the nose. I'm just like, mate, I mean, I love the vulnerability in Sleep Token lyrics. That's one of the things that I loved about them. But this vulnerability is just like really opening the door and he's just standing there naked. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure. That's the one thing that's, I guess, different. Is there any moments like that? We had the cold cuts thing, which I know some people like and whatever, but that was from Take Me Back to Eden. But I think before that, there wasn't really any of these moments where it was kind of like, maybe confusing lines, but there wasn't anything that was like, brother, come on, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, was there anything like that before?
Well, Sugar, I've Got a Taste for You is pretty like...
That's kind of like just a sexual kind of reference. It makes sense. Like, with the other stuff is just like...
Thing is, when he started bringing hip hop into the music is when the lyrics started coming in like that.
Yeah.
Because that's a very hip hop thing to do, is be very transparent and on the nose with the lyrics.
Yeah. True.
What does he say? Like, double glance at my cash flow?
Yeah.
There's
things with Vessel kind of sent me off a bit. I'm like, this is like some like demigod, and then he's just talking about his bank account. And like, we get it, you're rich. Shut up. Like, It just kind of ruins it. It's like, what God is worried about his bank account? You know, I get it's talking about from his perspective as a human, blah, blah, blah. He's trying to talk about trauma and shit, but like,
you know what? I think that's another reason why I'm not really, or I still love the record, but maybe not as much as others, is like the lyrics. Like we're talking about like the religious trauma stuff, which is like, I think is interesting. But yeah, some of the lyrics of this record, I'm taken away from. Like when I hear the robot companion, Harlequin bride stuff, I'm like, now I'm just like, those lines take me out of the music a little bit. Where the previous records didn't really do that too often. A little bit on Take Me Back to Eden, but not Sundown or This Place Would Become Your Tomb.
Yeah, because one of my favorite lyrics of this is it's already a bit of a metaphorical thing, like or I guess it's similar, like a moth to a flame. But even that's too basic for him. He goes another level. It's like a winged insect. I'm a winged insect, and you're a funeral pyre, which is so much more visually descriptive. Is like, oh fuck, not even just like a funeral pyre. Like there's a whole nother layer to the lyrics that make you go, wow.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
But it's definitely, it's obviously, it's intentional. He's doing this. He's doing it bare bones for the impact of that. And it's like his prerogative. And some people, that'll be their favorite thing about it, is how raw it is, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's obviously just a stylistic choice with the flow of the music, because he's very well capable of doing it. I keep going back to the title track, but that is just such a gorgeous example of how good he still is lyrically. But then when he has moments like that throughout the album, and then you hear the like hip hop stuff, that's just like, this is so... feels like a waste of talent. I get they're doing like a different thing with the album musically, but like when you hear how good he is lyrically, and you have heard throughout his discography, it just feels a bit like, oh man, you know, like musically you could have done the same thing, but maybe it made the lyrics less meh.
Yeah, they're not just the Gent Imagine Dragons anymore. Now they're metal. Hold up, this is the new thing that people are calling them, the haters.
Oh, God.
Metal for Disney adults.
Oh yeah,
I've
seen
that's
that.
So funny.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
I like
also
Disney.
love
I don't
the
give a
other,
shit.
what was the other one? They described them as sad boy cry wank genre.
Sad boy cry wank.
That one to me is hilarious.
So good.
That one's funny.
Sad boy cry wank is so good. Like, people think that that's offensive. Like, I'm gonna be like, oh, don't call my aunt cry wank. It's like, whatever. Like, it's fucking hilarious. That's a good one.
I find that hilarious. Yeah.
Too funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah.
We could talk for hours, but we can't, unfortunately, because there's other things to do in life. But yes, it's been lovely to revisit that and get closer to what we think about the finer details now that some of the dust is settled. And there's the thing about music as well that I love, is that you might love something and then grow away from it a little bit. And then maybe in a year or so, maybe that becomes your favorite thing because you discover a new thing about yourself or about that song. It's like, who knows where our journey might go with this album in the time to come. But right now, it still sounds like we think it's a brilliant piece of work overall, a couple of lyric moments aside. But you know, it's certainly interesting. It didn't disappoint. It was a phenomenal piece of work that deserves the attention and time it's getting, and deserves more plays to get to know it a bit better. So that's where I'm at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
I look forward to the next Sad Boy Cry Wank album.
Which hopefully is September 7th. We'll find out.
We'll find out. Wicked. Listen, thank you very much for enjoying this. Hopefully you did. If you enjoyed this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you leave a 5-star review. It really helps more people get this podcast in their life and talk about Sleep Token. Why wouldn't you want that? And also make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. We have a Patreon. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.